¿Quieres hablar inglés como un nativo? Prueba el método shadowing. Repite conmigo en voz alta y sin miedo. Escucha, imita y habla. Así es como se entrena el oído y la boca. Aquí no solo aprendes, aquí hablas inglés desde el primer minuto. Suscríbete y empieza ahora mismo a hablar como siempre soñaste. I spent weeks searching for the perfect gift. I wanted something special, something that would show how much I cared. After browsing countless websites and stores, I finally found it. A luxury watch, elegant and expensive. It had a delicate silver band, a pearl white face, and tiny diamonds around the edges. I imagined the smile on her face when she unwrapped it. I imagined the joy in her eyes, the way she'd jump into my arms. I even rehearsed the moment in my head, picturing every detail, the candlelight, the music, the softness in the air. I thought I had it all figured out. But when the day came, things didn't go as I had imagined. She sat on the couch, wearing her cozy sweater, her feet curled beneath her. I handed her the wrapped box with excitement bubbling in my chest. "This is for you," I said, trying to hide the anticipation in my voice. She smiled sweetly, gently unwrapping the paper with care. When she lifted the lid and saw the watch, her eyes widened. "It's beautiful," she said softly. She held it up to the light and turned it over in her hands. I felt relief. She smiled. It was working, at least for a moment, but something felt off. Her eyes didn't sparkle the way I expected. We had dinner. We laughed. I poured her wine. The watch sat on the table, shining under the warm glow of the lights. Still, I could sense a distance in her. It was subtle, like a breeze that barely moves the curtains. But it was there. I tried to ignore it. I talked more, cracked a few jokes, touched her hand. She smiled and nodded, but her gaze often wandered. Then, after a while, she leaned back and looked at me. Her expression softened, as if she were searching for the right words. "I love that you thought of me," she began, her voice gentle. "And I know you meant well. It's a beautiful gift." I nodded, unsure where this was going. "But, if I'm honest," she continued, "I would have preferred a quiet afternoon with you. No phones, just us. A walk, some tea, maybe watching the rain." Her words stunned me, not because they were harsh, they weren't, but because they were true. She wasn't ungrateful. She was just honest. And I had missed the point entirely. In that moment, my heart sank. I realized I had bought something shiny, something valuable, but not something meaningful to her. I gave her a symbol of love, instead of giving her actual time, actual presence. She wasn't asking for more. She was asking for less distraction, less noise, less performance. She wanted simplicity. She wanted me, and I hadn't seen that. We sat in silence for a while, the kind of silence that says more than words ever could. I looked at her and really saw her. Her tired eyes, the slight slump in her shoulders, the way she fiddled with the hem of her sleeve. She had been waiting for connection, not celebration. It wasn't about the occasion. It was about the closeness. I felt both ashamed and awakened. I reached for her hand. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "I didn't know." She squeezed my fingers gently. "I know you didn't," she whispered. "But now you do." And with those words, something shifted between us. It wasn't anger or disappointment. It was understanding. It was a new start. We left the gift on the table and walked out into the evening air. The sky was painted with shades of deep blue and orange. The city sounds buzzed in the background, but they felt far away. We didn't talk much. We just walked. Her hand in mine, our steps in sync. It was the gift she had wanted all along. That night, I lay awake, replaying her words in my mind. I would have preferred a quiet afternoon together. I kept hearing it over and over. I had been so caught up in trying to impress her, I forgot to be present. I thought about how many times I'd chosen a screen over a conversation. How many dinners I'd spent checking messages. How many evenings we'd shared space, but not time. It hit me hard. Love isn't always about effort. Sometimes it's about attention. It's not about grand gestures, but small ones, meaningful ones. It's about listening before acting, asking before assuming. I realized that I had been giving what I thought was love, but not what she truly needed. That watch, no matter how expensive, couldn't buy back lost moments. The next morning, I made her breakfast. No phones, no distractions, just us, in the kitchen, with sunlight pouring through the windows. I brewed her favorite tea and served her scrambled eggs on toast, the way she liked. She smiled as she sat down, and this time, the smile reached her eyes. We didn't need music or candles, just each other. That was enough. She looked at me across the table and said, "This is the best gift." I felt a lump in my throat. It wasn't the tea or the eggs. It was the quiet, the attention, the presence, the simplicity. I finally understood, and it changed everything. That morning I gave her something I never had before, myself, fully. From that day on, I made a conscious effort to be there, really there, to listen, to look, to feel. I put down my phone more. I asked her how she was and waited for the real answer. We spent weekends walking in the park, watching the trees sway, talking about silly things and serious things. No distractions. No timelines. Just time. The expensive watch remained in its box. She never returned it, but she never wore it either. It became a silent reminder, sitting on her dresser, glinting in the sunlight. It reminded me of a lesson I had learned the hard way. Value isn't always measured in price. Sometimes, the most precious things are the simplest. I started to notice more about her. The way she hummed when she cooked. The way she curled up with a book. The way she paused before speaking when something mattered. These were things I had missed before, caught up in work, in screens, in life. Now, I paid attention, and she noticed. Our relationship changed, not because of the gift, but because of the shift. We became closer, more in tune. We argued less, laughed more, touched more. She began sharing more of her thoughts, and I began listening, not to respond, but to understand. There was a quiet magic in this new way of being. It didn't happen overnight. Habits are hard to break. But I kept trying. And every time I caught myself reaching for my phone during dinner, I stopped. Every time I chose to be present instead of distracted, she smiled. It was like watering a plant. Small drops, consistently, creating growth. One day, while we were walking hand in hand, she stopped and turned to me. "You've changed," she said, "in the best way." I smiled. "You helped me see," I replied. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. No more needed to be said. It was a moment of peace, of understanding, of mutual love. As time passed, I began to understand that love is not a performance. It's not measured by how much you spend, but how much of yourself you're willing to give. I had spent so long believing that bigger meant better, that price equaled depth. But it was in the quiet, the everyday, the unspoken, where love truly lived. Her presence taught me that. Not through lectures, but through patience. She never made me feel guilty for the mistake I made. Instead, she invited me to grow. And I did. There were days when I slipped. Days when work overwhelmed me. When old habits crept back in. But every time I remembered her voice, her words, that first quiet evening after the gift. "Just us," she had said. That became my anchor, my reminder to slow down, to look at her, not through a screen, not through my plans or my ego, but as she was, here and now. And every time I remembered that, our love deepened. I began to look around me differently, too. I watched other couples at restaurants, each buried in their phones. I saw people give lavish gifts, only to rush off to meetings or scroll endlessly through notifications. It made me reflect. Maybe we're all trying too hard to impress and not enough to connect. Maybe the world has taught us to buy affection, to perform happiness, when in reality, the heart needs so much less, so much simpler. We started a small tradition, Sunday afternoons with no screens. We'd pick a random spot, pack some sandwiches, and go. No photos, no texts, no distractions, just time. Some of those afternoons were quiet, others filled with laughter. Sometimes we talked deeply, sometimes we just lay in the grass, but every one of those days became more valuable than any possession I could buy. It was the gift I never knew how to give until I listened. Over time, that quiet gift grew roots in our lives. It taught us to listen more, to hold hands longer, to be okay with silence. There was a calm between us now, like a soft current carrying us forward. I noticed how she would reach for my hand when I was quiet, how I would lean into her when the day felt heavy. We had created a space between us that felt like home, simple, real, unpolished. Looking back, I'm almost grateful for the mistake. Without it, I might have never seen what I was missing. That moment of realization, that gentle truth she offered, changed not just how I loved her, but how I loved in general. I began applying that presence to my family, to my friends, even to myself. I stopped rushing through life so much. I started showing up. The funny thing is, people began to notice. "You seem more grounded," someone told me. Another said, "You listen better now." It felt good, not because I wanted praise, but because I knew I was finally living in alignment with what mattered. I had shifted from showing love through things to showing it through time, through presence, through stillness. That change brought peace. There's a kind of healing that comes when someone tells you gently that what you gave wasn't what they needed, and they still love you anyway. It takes courage to say it, and it takes humility to hear it. But when both people stay and choose to grow from it, something sacred happens. The love gets deeper, purer. It becomes about more than moments. It becomes a life shared fully. Sometimes, I wonder what would have happened if she hadn't said anything, if she had just accepted the gift, smiled, and let it pass. We might have stayed in a cycle of surface-level gestures. I might have kept missing her in the noise. I'm thankful every day that she chose honesty over politeness, that she trusted me enough to tell the truth, that she believed I could hear it. Years have passed now. We still walk on Sundays. We still drink tea with no phones nearby. The expensive watch? It's still in its box. Maybe one day we'll give it to someone else, as a reminder of where we started. Or maybe we'll leave it untouched, a monument to the lesson it taught us. Either way, we've already received the best gift, the ability to be present with each other. People often ask me for advice about love. "What should I get them?" they say. I tell them this story. I tell them about the watch and the words that followed. I tell them that presence is the rarest gift of all, that being fully with someone, heart and mind, is worth more than anything. You can wrap in a box. Some listen, others nod and move on, but I plant the seed anyway. Sometimes I catch her looking at me when we're sitting quietly. She'll smile without saying a word, and I'll know, without needing anything flashy or spoken, that I gave her what she needed. Not the first time, but eventually. And that matters. That effort, that listening, that transformation, it matters. It's never too late to learn how to love someone the way they want to be loved. I still make mistakes. I still forget. I still fall back into rushing and overthinking. But now I have a compass. Her words echo in me. Just us. When things get too loud, too fast, I return to that simple phrase. It reminds me of who I am with her, of what we've built, of what matters. It grounds me, pulls me back to center. I think love is like that. Messy, evolving, sometimes missing the mark. But if you're willing to listen, to really hear the heart beneath the words, it can become something extraordinary. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real, because it grows, because it heals. And so, the wrong gift turned out to be the right lesson. A lesson I carry with me every day. Love doesn't ask for diamonds. It asks for presence. It asks for care. It asks for you.